Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good day to the YouTubers out there. Welcome to Just Breathe, another edition brought to you by Empathy North and Earth Heals. We are here each and every weekday, and the purpose of these classes is just to breathe together and to take some time out of the busy day to spend 20 minutes just focusing on the breath, focusing on the body, focusing on mindfulness, and focusing on ourselves. And that 20 minutes a day is really all it takes to start to build very positive self-care and wellness habits, rituals, and practices. So we do things very simply here. This is a non-denominational approach. And what I mean by that is we sample from various schools, various ideas. I was reading a children's book called Breathing Like a Bear, and I learned all these different little animal techniques for breathing that I just discovered that will probably sprinkle in to this class or for future classes. All the way to ancient wisdom. So children's books to ancient wisdom, we're bringing in what is useful and what is working and what will be of assistance to you. All the stuff that we present in this class, in this forum, are all things that we've self-applied and self-taught and self-practice. And the other thing just to mention off the top is that it's super simple. We're not trying to create anything esoteric or difficult to follow. We are really just creating something very simple in our approach to the place that anybody could join, anybody could start. If we are just if you're just entering into breath work and meditation and you're really, very, very new, like first day new type thing, this is a place for you. If you're someone who's been practicing for a while, someone who's been doing breath work on your own, or you've been doing it in a corporate setting or in a, personally, this is also for you. Because of, I think, the way that simplicity and mindfulness, for me, if that's the goal, if our goal is to become less less scattered in our brains, less tense in our bodies, if our goal is to actually become simple, become more mindful, become more present, well, then the practice itself should lead that way, right? We're not going to get simple if we put in complicated as the input. The output's not going to be simple. It's going to be something complicated. So for that reason, over the last 5 years, working with Earth Heals, creating the curriculum and the programs for Earth Heals, what I noticed was just how many complicated, how many kind of convoluted systems for being present or for being mindful or being conscious or being awakened or any of the adjectives that people might use that have now in a way become buzzwords. There were so many different approaches, but they were all trying to get to the same place, which was like allow people to be present to their emotions, to their thoughts, allow them not to be dominated by their environment because they don't actually breathe and think and feel for themselves. So all of these systems were trying to get people to the same place, but I felt like there was a lot of hurdles that had to be overcome. Sometimes you need to become part of a religious school or a spiritual community in order to access some of the techniques that were being taught. And for me, I felt like, well, if these techniques work, then we should be able to apply them in different settings and achieve similar results. And so what I've done with so many of the teachings and learnings that I've taken from Buddhism and mindful practices and yogi and tantric worlds and all of these different schools, different approaches, I've looked and I've pulled out the things that can be taught and applied with very little pre-knowledge and very little pre-faith, if you will. So I don't require anybody to believe in anything before we teach and practice this. This is all just try it for yourself, see if it works for you, adapt as needed, and keep coming back to practice and share your experience. And that's what this whole class is about. It's something that we're going to be doing, we've been doing on a daily basis since the beginning of COVID-19's emergence in Canada and North America. And we are continuing to go forward. Why are we doing this as Empathy North? Like, obviously Earth Heals makes super sense, right? This is our bread and butter, right? Teaching you, helping you learn for yourself. But with Empathy North, which is our content services agency, the reason that we're creating this program, the reason that we're putting our resources behind it and showing up, is because we've seen how much the breath work can help us in our business. We've seen how much breath work can help us working with our clients, teaching them these techniques, seeing how they're applying it in their business, in their lives. It's shown us that there isn't any separation between self-care and success in business. They are intricately linked, and they will become more and more linked as we move forward, as these patterns and trends start to emerge that we've definitely been seeing on the edge of what's coming next. But we also know that there is so much more education and knowledge, and all these different paradigms are shifting, that are starting to crash different opposing ideas or previously opposing ideas together, such as self-care and business, right? That's not something that normally people would have put them together. You go to work and then you go home and then you take care of yourself. That's self-care. Work and home, like, you don't bring that stuff to work. But we know that when we have remote teams, which is obviously only increasing, when we have creative teams, when we need to be having our teams be productive and creative consistently over time, we also know that self-care and wellness needs to be baked in, needs to be part of the DNA. It needs to be part of what it is that a company will look at, or an organization will look at, to support its growth and its goals. And it will need to be measured like we measure other financial and other business goals as well, and be able to hold people accountable, hold leaders accountable to variables that will align with the health and well-being of the people, but also, we're saying, will align with the productive and creative goals of the business and the company. So that's why we brought these things together. For today, we're going to get into our class in just a moment. We do two types of breath in this class. One is an invigorating breath, and one is a de-escalating style of breath. And there are a couple of neutral places which are right in the middle, but generally speaking, we're either increasing energy or we're trying to calm the body or decrease stress. And for today's class, we're going to start with our invigorating breath. We usually do try and start with one in the beginning to really increase the energy, and then we like to leave it, take a de-escalation at the end, so that when you leave the class, you feel refreshed, but you also feel relaxed, like you've had a little bit of a recharge or a rest in the process. So we're going to start today with G breath, which is a really great breath, really great core offering, core breath that we do a lot at Empathy North. And then we're going to just do an extended silent meditation this morning. And it's completely breath related. So our focus, the way we do meditation, is just breathing alone. Like, we don't actually get you to try and meditate. You're not going to have to try and do anything. You're not going to have to think or not think, or, think of things, but not think of things. Like, that's not even what we get into here. It's literally just following your breath. So if you can breathe and you can count to 3, then you can become part of this class. And we've created it so that it can be this open and can be this accessible. So we welcome you into the class today. We'll guide you through all the practices and processes. To begin, we're going to start with posture, because that's super important when we get into breathing. We need to always have a strong foundation for any sort of mindful practice or breath work or meditation. You always want to have a strong base that you can feel into. So first, the base is always on the floor or the ground, if you're lucky enough to be outside and doing this class. Otherwise, you want to make sure your feet are flat on the floor. And if you are sitting down on a chair, you can use your toes to kind of grip into the ground a little bit and feel into that space. And our next point of contact, our next point of awareness is our ankles. If you are cross-legged, like I am, if you're sitting, on a platform of some kind, or if you're just sitting flat, cross-legged, you do want to make sure that your knees and your ankles are as aligned as possible. Um, and if you are in a chair, you want to make sure that your ankles are directly below your knees. Our next point of contact, our next checking in place for posture is actually under the seat of the body, right on your sit bones. There are two, sit bones. There's the left one and the right one, obviously. And what you want to find is that comfortable balance between left and right. So you don't want to be, if you feel like you're leaning with your left or right side, you want to try and find a place right in the middle. And then same with the forward and back axis too. You don't want to be leaning backwards. That'll put stress on the back and the lower spine. And you don't want to be leaning forward for pretty much the same reason. So again, that forward and back. And in our practice, we're trying to get focused. Each breath, we're looking to be as focused as we can, but we're going to lose that focus from time to time. A bird's going to chirp, a car's going to drive by, a dog or a cat's going to make a noise, or you're just going to have a thought of, oh my gosh, what am I going to eat for lunch? And that is to be expected, and that is to be welcomed, actually, because it's just part of the experience. But when we have our posture, and we're going to get into our next checking point, when we have our posture, we want to make sure our elbows are tucked in below our shoulders. It gives us a place to come back to, right? So now we're starting to feel a little bit more like we've got a base here. Elbows are below shoulders. Your shoulders are open and back. And there's that sort of feeling of spaciousness in the chest. Now we come back to this place. So if we ever find ourselves, finally, we're going to dip our chin. If we ever find ourselves not feeling connected, or we're losing our focus, we can actually just return to this place right here. So let's just lock this in with a little bit of breathing. And we'll just start with a neutral or a free breath. And you can use your nose or your mouth, whatever is happening for you at this moment, and just begin to observe how it feels to have a strong posture, a strong sense of alignment. You are more than welcome to use the back of a chair or a wall should you wish to give yourself a little bit more support in this approach. And let's just take a moment to breathe into this aligned place, this posture. Good. So here we are at the beginning. We'll just keep coming back to this place of posture as many times as we need to. First, we'll begin our time this morning with the G breath, a very basic technique. It'll take you a few times to get the hang of it, but once you do, it's pretty straightforward. And we're going to be taking deep, full body breaths through the mouth and through the nose, and I'll be guiding you through the cycles. And what you want to do is just try and breathe as deeply as you can, and really when you're exhaling, try and make sure it's a strong exhale as well. So we really want to see if we can get a lot of air in and then push a lot of air out with each succeeding breath. All you need to remember is for this cycle, because I'll guide you through the rest, is to keep your tongue attached to the roof of your mouth. And we'll begin on the exhale. So exhaling with tongue on the roof of your mouth, all the air out of your body. Beginning with mouth, mouth. Mouth, nose. Nose, nose. Nose, mouth. Mouth, mouth. That's one cycle. So next cycle beginning with mouth, mouth. mouth, nose. Nose, nose. Nose, mouth. Mouth, mouth. Last cycle coming. Deep, deep breaths. Here we go. Mouth, mouth. Mouth, nose. Nose, nose. Nose, mouth. Last breath, deepest. Deep, take a deep, deep breath. Mouth, mouth. Pause. Relaxing your core. Closing your eyes. Take a half breath in. And breathe freely. We'll return to neutral breath, or free breath here, as we pause for integration of mind and body. As we continue this pause, this is a place for relaxation, but it's also the place for integration. So when we are completing our breath, the silence between the breath is as important, or perhaps even more important than the technique and the breathing itself. So when you come to this place, give it your focus, give it your attention, and this is where the magic happens. Next, we'll move into our silent practice, a technique or a style that we use called Anapana, which I gratefully have learned from and learned at the Vipassana school. And it's a very simple, very introductory technique for meditation that requires no thought or no knowledge, pre-knowledge. We just simply follow our breath and follow our intuition. And so what we're doing here is, again, a free breath, but we're restricting our breath to the nostril breath. So we're going to be inhaling and exhaling through the nostrils for this part of the class. And what we're doing is looking and focusing all of our attention on the area of our nostrils and our upper lip. So our eyes will likely be closed if you're comfortable with that. And you're going to just be feeling the breath as it moves in and out of the nose. And you're going to be focusing on the upper lip, the nostrils, the tip of the nose. Wherever you feel, wherever you catch the feel of the breath is what you're looking to achieve. And anything that comes in, any thoughts or feelings outside of this area of focus, you know that you don't have to attend to them. You can simply let them pass as you maintain your focus, as you maintain your awareness of the area of your nostrils and your upper lip. So let's begin and drop into our silent practice this morning of Anapana. You may need to make subtle adjustments with your posture throughout the silent practice, perhaps even needing to move a leg or an arm. And that is totally fine. What you want to do though is make sure you do so with as slow a movement as possible so as to keep the peace inside of your body, keep that space of connectedness, and just continue to return to your breath, return to the area of your upper lip, your nostrils, and the tip of your nose. Just before the end of our time together in our class today, I invite you to spend just a moment to create an intention for the rest of your day. Perhaps something came to you in meditation or just something that you've been wanting to put into practice. Use this time to put that forward and call that in as the day that you're going to have today. Whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. If they've been closed, you can start to bring some movement into your body. If you're like me, you might need to stretch your legs a little bit to increase the blood flow. And that's it. That's how we do at Just Breathe. So that's our class for today. We do try and keep it tight to 20 minutes of actual instruction time. So if you do need to leave, if you do need to move on with your day, we thank you so much for being here. We look forward to being, back here. Excited to be on YouTube. So welcome to any YouTube subscribers. Please do comment, like, and subscribe. And for everyone else who's joined us, in the class, we do have a Zoom room that we broadcast from. If you're interested, the link will be there to how to sign up for that. We will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time with another edition of Just Breathe. If you have any questions, please feel free to add them in the comments. We'll answer them in tomorrow's or in future classes. That's all for today. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Peace, everyone.